Hello and welcome back to the FIT40 Podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition for busy parents 40 plus so they can improve their health and feel amazing. I'm your host, Brian Fitzsimmons, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach for people over 40 since 2015. And today we have another awesome topic on deck. We're going to be talking about how to create the perfect diet for you. No more of these fad diets, no more of following these blanket approaches that say everybody should do this, and then you give it a try and guess what? Doesn't work for you. Okay. We are going to talk about exactly what you need to know to curate the perfect plan for you. Now, before we do that, if you haven't already, go ahead and pause this and hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you're watching or listening so that way you do not miss another episode, because every single week episodes are coming out. There's a lot of great information I'm going to share with you guys, and I want you to get all of it. So go ahead, click that button. Doesn't cost a cent. You'll be happy you did. All right, now let's get into it. So creating the perfect diet for you. Now, the reason I'm making this episode is because I actually had a call that I have with all my clients, monthly Zoom, where we're face-to-face, we're chatting, and the idea came up that basically she's like, okay, I want to try the Mediterranean diet. And I'm like, cool. That's one of the better ones to pick. It's definitely not as bad as like the cabbage soup diet or Optavia or any of these super restrictive diets that are not sustainable, that leave you feeling like crap. Like the Mediterranean diet will actually really check a lot of boxes. But the problem with these methods, with all of these things that have a name, is that they say only do this, or they say these foods are off limits, or you have to have these specific foods, and it puts you in a box. And when we're put in a box as humans, we usually just want to bust right out of that. It creates this restriction mindset, this feeling that, oh, I can't, I need to follow the plan, otherwise I'm going to lose all my progress. When in reality, it's if you follow the principles, you will see the progress you want to see. But we need to separate those two, because methods and principles are two different things. There's a saying, methods are many, principles are few. Methods always change and principles rarely do. So the meaning behind that is there's a million methods out there that you can try, like Optavia, like cabbage soup diet, the wine diet, the pizza diet, anything that you say the blank diet is a method. Okay. And it's not just nutrition either. It's all these different workout programs that have a specific name to it. That is a method. But what it is, a method is just pretty packaging. It's really shiny bow, a nice package, like gift wrapped thing. And inside of that gift is all the principles that make it work. So what are those actual principles? First off, if anything in any shape or form makes you lose weight, it's a calorie deficit, because what a calorie deficit does is it puts you in a negative calorie balance. Now, if you guys caught the last episode, I went a little bit more in detail on this, but basically your body has no reason to let go of weight if it doesn't need to pull energy from somewhere. Now, that could be your fat stores, it could be your lean muscle tissue, it could be bone, it could be organ tissue, it could be a number of different places. And based on your lifestyle, it will determine where most of that comes from. But at the end of the day, you lose weight, it's because of a calorie deficit. And guess what? You don't need to count calories to be in a deficit. And just because you didn't count calories doesn't mean you weren't in a deficit. It does mean that you actually were. You just didn't pay attention to that. You paid attention to the habits that put you there, which is great, because if you could just focus on habits and just the things that move the needle, that makes things a whole lot easier, and you don't feel like such a slave to the numbers. So we have that as number one. Number two is nutrient density. All the best diets, this is like excluding things like the Twinkie diet or the pizza diet, or these diets that focus around things that are, we'll call them crap foods, like the things that are not nutrient dense. Okay, the ones that are nutrient dense, things like Whole30, Mediterranean diet, things like that, where there's a lot of micronutrients in a lot of those foods, those help you feel better, which help increase the chances that you're actually going to stick with it. Like those are the diets that you don't feel like absolute death while you're on. And then there's structure. So they teach you how to put a plate together. I prefer PFC, but that's just my preferred method because I find it easier and it checks most of the boxes anyway, and gets you incredible results like I've seen with many clients. But there's other things like My Plate, which was actually just scrapped by our new administration that doesn't know what the hell they're doing. But the My Plate concept of getting certain things on certain parts of your plate was a very helpful tool. So that's one that you could do. Or Whole30, it's like just put plants on the plate, or things like that, where you have an idea of like, okay, this is how I put this together. It's not leaving you in no man's land, or it's not saying, hey, you have to eat the foods that we prepackage and sell you because you can't do this yourself. Okay, none of that. And then there's also structure around timing. Like a really easy example of this is intermittent fasting. So like with intermittent fasting, there is a start and a stop time. And what that does is it reduces the boredom, grazing, or like just mindlessly eating, because during that time, yeah, you can eat, but once it's done, it's done. And you have that off switch in your brain that says, okay, we're good. That's it. So even though no carbs after 6 is bullshit, like there's nothing physiologically that will cause you to retain fat because you happen to eat after 6, whatever it is, whether it's protein, carbs, or fat. It's just the fact that, hey, you stopped. So a lot of the people that are the no carbs after 6 people are the people that all of a sudden saw a gigantic drop in calories post 6 p.m., like all the desserts or the late night snacking and just mindlessly eating on the couch while they're watching television, things like that, which can be super helpful when you have that stop. And then last but not least is enjoyment. The people that do see the best results, the longest term results, are the ones that find an approach that they actually enjoy. It's not, oh, I'm grinding it out 24/7, 365. I'm super disciplined. I hate every minute of my diet. No, the only people that actually do that are competitors, and they have an end goal of looking a certain way on stage. So there's a justification of, oh, I can eat this way because I want to look this way. And then guess what? The second they're done with that competition, it is very well known that backstage, it's nothing but donuts, pizza, all this stuff that they've wanted to eat this entire time. So you should be able to enjoy whatever plan you're on, whether that is slowly or like in small amounts, incorporating things that you really enjoy, or having things like, I know some people do well with cheat meals or cheat days, even though that could get really out of hand really fast. And it's a select few. Like easy example of this would be like The Rock. He has like absurd cheat days, but he knows what he's doing. He knows what his body can handle. He actually has a coach. He worked with Hani Rambod, who is one of the most famous bodybuilding coaches out there right now, because he's like, hey, you just tell me what I can and can't do. So plug for coaching right there. Coaches help a lot. So yeah, enjoyment. Let's focus on that. Enjoyment is another big thing. Now, once we've got all of those down, like what exactly should we do? Well, what's that first step look like? I really like just healthifying your favorite foods. So imagine calories just don't exist. Just for a minute, imagine calories do not exist and you could have whatever you want for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I usually recommend getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner so that way your energy is nice and steady all the way through the day, so you don't have these dips, because some people just don't do well skipping breakfast because it leads to so much residual hunger later in the day, or they just feel low energy and they underperform at work. So that's my preferred way. But if you do prefer sticking to an intermittent fasting window, do that. That's fine. But figure out what exactly you are going to have for those meals during that time that you'll be eating, and base it around the things that you love. Because guess what? You can healthify it. Okay. Whatever you enjoy eating. So I love fast food. I'm not going to lie. When I have my birthday, whenever I have like an absurd amount of stress or it's a celebration, I usually lean towards fast food. So what do we do in the meantime, like to make sure that doesn't happen every day, all the time? Because otherwise, outside of those times, I'm pretty consistent and I end up getting the results that I want. So what do? My favorite thing in the last year, two-ish, is outsourcing to ChatGPT, because I won't lie, it's an incredible tool when it comes to nutrition, especially because I will plug in, like I'll tell all my clients, I'm like, hey, I know how to navigate this thing and I know how to work it. And I'm going to tell you guys right now exactly how to do what I do for people. And like, I say this because I don't charge people because, oh, I'm giving you this recipe book, I'm going to charge you X amount. No, I charge for accountability. This stuff should be common knowledge. Everybody should use it. Everybody should utilize it. And those that don't need a professional and just need this little tip should be able to utilize it. So what do? Go to ChatGPT and you say, hey, I need 2 to 3 options. I need 2 to 3 options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Why 2 to 3? Because the more variety you have, the harder it is to stay on track. And that's just a common theme that we see throughout scientific literature. Like when they survey people who keep weight off long term, who have an easy time sticking to their routines, they usually have a solid list of like 2 to 3 options per meal. And just ask people who actually are super duper in shape year round, or people that you know have had a crazy transformation that you're like, hey, they know what they're doing. Ask them, just be like, hey, how many meals, like how many different types of meals do you have? And it's a spectrum, but you're very rarely going to find somebody that's like, oh, I eat something different every single day. The only people that actually do that usually are making money from that, because they are putting it out on social media saying, oh, try this one, try that one, try this. Oh, by the way, buy my recipe book, which not a bad thing, but that's the life that they live. Most people do really well with 2 to 3 options, because then it's like, okay, we got some ideas here. And that's usually for breakfast and lunch. When we're talking dinner, we have our dinner routine throughout the week. It's like, yeah, we got Taco Tuesday, Pizza Friday, stuff like that. So feel free to work that in as well, and get those 2 to 3 options. And what do we want in those 2 to 3 options? Number one, it needs to satisfy your calorie target. So how many calories should you have? Well, personally, I like doing your basal metabolic rate plus 200 to support activity, because your basal metabolic rate is the amount of calories you need at rest just to support basic functions like breathing, like pumping your blood through your veins and arteries, and digestion, and all these other things that just require basic life functions. So if you were laying in bed all day, that's how many calories you'd burn. And honestly, it's a shitload. And then on top of that, we got the 200 calories to support activity. So this is probably going to be just enough to support non-exercise activity like walking, tapping your foot, stuff like that. And then we have exercise and thermic effective food as well. But the reason I set this low, because this is honestly low. If you see this number and you plug it in and say, okay, here's my basal metabolic rate plus 200, whoa, that's a lot of calories. That's the problem, first and foremost. Okay, this is a very low amount of calories, and don't second guess the calculation. Okay, take it for what it is and just accept that, hey, diet culture got you. Diet culture made you believe that you have to eat less than 1,000 calories. You probably went to some quack doctor that's a laughingstock of his medical school that said, oh, we're going to put you on this diet because you are just fat loss resistant. No, you're not. It's bullshit. Okay. This is a number that will serve you. And I've seen it work for a lot of people. Only caveat here, if you do have a medical condition that does decrease your metabolism, or you're taking medications. So like, let's say you have a thyroid issue, or you're taking like psychiatric medications, things like that. Ask your doctor, like assuming you have a good one, okay, ask them to tell you like, hey, is this going to get in the way? And that way you can curve your expectations, and you can consult a registered dietitian if you need guidance when it comes to controlling for that while in technically a disease state, like having a thyroid issue or having a psychiatric issue, and you'll be able to navigate that with them. But let's say that's not you. For the majority of people, BMR plus 200 should work very, very well for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you start tracking in the beginning, like if you are tracking calories, you are most likely going to go way above that. And that's okay, because chances are you will still be in a calorie deficit, because they've actually studied people when they look at them in medical ward studies, where like they literally lock them in and track every bite that they eat. And they say, guess how many calories you just ate? It ranges from being off anywhere from 31 to 61%. So do the math on that. Let's call it an even 50%. And you think, oh, I had 1,000 calories. No, you didn't. You had about 1,500 most likely. Or let's say you're aiming for 2,000, because a lot of people are going to find that this BMR plus 200 is right around that 2,000 mark, give or take a couple hundred. Especially the ladies, the guys are going to be even higher than that. When you do that, like let's say 2,000, that would be 3,000 calories. So now you're not even in a deficit. You're not even in maintenance. Now you're in a surplus thinking that you're in a deficit, and that's no fun. So we set it low to basically aim for the moon, or shoot for the moon, land in the stars. Okay. So we'll do that. And then the goal is to lose weight a little bit too fast and then add in calories. So if you're losing past about 1% of your body weight on average per week, I would add in some calories, like 100, see what happens, then another 100, see what happens, and do that. And then assuming we have the right amount of calories, like we're telling ChatGPT, hey, divide this up by 3. Or what I like to do is kind of cut it in half. So I operate on, say, 2,000 calories. It's absurdly low for a male in a deficit, but hey, this is my body. I just know 2,000 is like my number. So when it comes to that 2,000 number, I say, hey, I'm going to cut that in half. I'm leaving 1,000 for dinner because I really like just having the flexibility with my fiance to eat whatever the heck she is in the mood for. And then I make sure that I get enough protein in it and call it a day. So I like doing that, where it's like half my calories are devoted to dinner time and then the other half are devoted to breakfast and lunch. But you can break it up however you want. Just don't go absurdly low if you feel like you're dragging all day. Like some of you might have to take a little bit of flexibility away later in the day just to support being able to feel good earlier. So it's very independent or very individual based on that. So really just go with what you think in the beginning and then adjust as needed. And then once we've got that down, we also want lean protein in there. So I like giving clients a starting point of 30 grams 3 times daily. So for 30 grams for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. Or if you want to get more specific to you, you can calculate your lean body mass. Now, you could do it a number of different ways. You might have had a DEXA scan. It'll tell you right there what your lean body mass is, or an in-body scanner. That does it really well too. And they're coming out with other technology, but I wouldn't trust it just yet, especially these at-home scales. They're not quite there yet, so don't buy into these companies trying to capitalize on people being like, oh, I heard on this podcast, I need to know this number. This should do it. No, it probably won't. It won't be accurate, so do not fall for that. But one thing that I've been using, and I've seen it work really, really well with clients in a way that we're getting enough protein where I'm seeing that they're able to build muscle and get stronger in the gym, as well as burn body fat and maintain muscle, is using something called the Navy method. And if you type in on Google fat loss calculator and it takes you to calculator.net, this is what they use. So I'll put that in the show notes so you guys can just click it and use it. And that'll crank out an estimated amount of what your lean body mass is, your fat mass, and all that good stuff. I would ignore the body fat percentage and like what category you fall into. Don't worry about that stuff. It doesn't define you as a human. It shouldn't be like, oh my God, I feel terrible about myself. It's, hey, this is our starting point. This is where we're going to start, but this is nowhere near where we're going to be once we've done this for months and months and years and years. And this is as bad as it's ever going to get. Okay. So use that to figure out what your lean body mass is and just try and aim for a gram per pound of lean body mass. Technically 1.1 if you want to get real particular, but just call it a gram per pound of lean body mass. And that's how much protein you should have throughout the day. And that ideally you want to split that up evenly. So tell ChatGPT, give me this much protein at each meal. Then we want fiber. Okay, 5 grams is a good starting point for the beginning, just to introduce more fiber into your diet. And it's not super overwhelming. It doesn't send you to the bathroom immediately, assuming that you eat next to no fiber. But also, this does not apply to people with like issues like IBS, Crohn's, certain things that will be affected by fiber intake. So definitely, if you have any conditions that like that, consult a registered dietitian. Don't take my word for it. Consult them and figure it out. But if that's not you, fiber, 5 to 10 grams per meal. Start at 5 and then work it up to 10. So that way we're in the recommended amount for the entire day, which is 25 to 35 grams. But if you start at 5 and or if you're at 0 right now and then you get up to 5 grams per day, so we're at about 15-ish, that's a really good place to begin. Okay. And that from there, you just tell ChatGPT, hey, 5 to 10 grams, or say 5 if you really want to play it safe, and then add in more as you go. And then last but not least, with the PFC is color. Just tell it, make sure that there is a fruit or vegetable in every single meal. And you know what? I'm just going to provide the ChatGPT prompt because I know this can be really complicated. So what I'll do is in the podcast description or the show notes, wherever you're watching or listening, I'll say ChatGPT prompt and literally just copy and paste it for yourself. And adjust it as needed. Next is a grocery list. So I'll include this as well. You can ask it to create a grocery list and it will literally say, just get this, and tell it to make it your meal plan for the week. And then also utilize it when you're out to dinner, because a lot of times it can look up or menus for wherever you're at. So say I'm at this restaurant in this place, in this city or town in this state, and it'll look it up and it'll be like, well, I don't know the exact metrics on that or exact calories and macros on that because it doesn't list them on the menu, but based on what it most likely is, that guesstimate that it's going to give you is a whole lot better than your guesstimate. So utilize it as needed. And there was one more thing on here I wanted to include, but I'm spacing. But that's like the big things is get 2 to 3 options. Make sure that you split up your calories in a way that makes sense for you. Utilize lean protein, 30 grams or more, or go with your lean body mass and just get a gram per pound of that. Fiber, start at 5 and then work it up closer and closer to 10 grams per meal. Color, just get a fruit or veggie in there and get a grocery list good to go, and use it when you're out and you should be good to go. So at the end of the day, all you really need, like you don't need to purchase a ton of stuff. And that's the big thing that also unfortunately happens a lot when people jump on these name diets. They buy the book, they buy the bars, they buy the prepackaged meals, they buy 1,000,001 things because they think if I invest this money, I'm going to do it. No. That never happens. You do it for a little bit of time and then you stop, because investing money doesn't always get the job done. You need to see results. You need to feel good in the process. You need to feel bought in. You need to understand what's going on. And at the end of the day, all you really need is a scale, a tape measure, and access to ChatGPT. And you should be able to do what I just said on the free version. So yeah, it really shouldn't cost you anything. And when I say tape measure, special note, tape measure, make sure it's one that they use like a seamstress would use, where it fits around your body. Do not use the metal one. I've had somebody do that and I wanted to just face palm. So please be smart about this. And like I said, adjust as needed and know that you will not be perfect at this right away. You will not. Okay, this is a very trial and error type thing. Give it your best shot. When you fall, when it eventually will happen, I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Okay. Pick yourself back up and ask yourself, okay, what went wrong? What can we do differently next time? And what am I going to do now going forward to make sure that doesn't happen again? And that's the name of the game, because life's going to change. Everything is not static. You don't get the same 24 hours every single day, 365 days a year. We get different stuff with the different days. Take it, roll with it, do your best for that day. And just at the end of the day, do your best not to miss twice. And that looks a little bit different based on what you got going on. So if you missed a meal, don't treat the whole day like it's shot. Treat the day like it's a game. Like there's quarters. Okay. The first quarter didn't go so well. Let's bounce back for the second quarter, or the first half. Okay. If you're over in Europe and you don't go by quarters like we do in basketball and football. Okay. Assume like, hey, this first half didn't go great. Let's make up for it in the second half. Because when you do things by the meal, that's the flexibility that it gives you, where it's like, okay, you didn't completely fall off plan because you ate this one bad food. It's, hey, we went off on that one meal, not so great, but I have a target for this next meal. I have this amount of calories. I have this amount of protein. I have all these things that I'm like, okay, as long as I get this in that next meal, I'm right back on. So just don't miss twice. And let's say a whole day got away from you. Maybe you're on vacation or maybe you're sick, then get back at it the next day. Or let's say you had the week from hell, like you got sick or something, or you just got insanely busy. Don't miss twice. Don't miss that next week. Don't let this spiral. Nip it in the bud as fast as you can and all will be okay, because it's not about being perfect. It's just about being on the plan for enough times, like enough days accumulatively to get the results that you want. That's what real consistency is, because consistency beats perfection. All right. Now, along with all this, there are a few things that make it harder or easier to stick to your plan. Number one is sleep. Okay. If you can, please, please, please just give it a try. If you can sacrifice one episode at nighttime, or if you can improve your sleep environment, like if you're able to dial the temperature down a little bit lower, or if you wake up with night sweats, like make sure to arrange some change of clothes right next to your bed so you don't have to get up and wake yourself up to do it. Get a fan on you if possible. Trying to think of all the other ones. Just make your room like a cave as best as you can, cold, dark, and quiet to the best of your ability. This stuff does make a gigantic difference. And if you can't get it dark, then sleep mask, investing in one can honestly be an absolute game changer. Next is stress. Okay. Manage it as best as you possibly can. And when I say stress, I mean all stress. That includes good and bad stress. So, bad stress, we know it's like being hooked on social media and being on that roller coaster of emotion all day, every day, or the news, or constantly taking that call from that friend or family member that just drains your energy and makes you feel like crap because they just dump on you. Okay. Setting good boundaries in that way. Or let's say you are a cortisol junkie, as we refer to them in the fitness space. Your trainers, we call them cortisol junkies, the people that need to work out every single day for at least an hour. Now, if you are that person, I dare you to exercise some willpower and not use that willpower to go to the gym and do it and do that every single day. I dare you to try 2 to 3 workouts a week, and on the off days, do active recovery. Don't worry, I won't leave you hanging. Just do something that actively helps you recover, like low intensity yoga. I'm talking like restorative, not that flow that's still kind of hard. No. Okay. Restorative. Or go to the spa or something, or get a massage or something like that, or go for an easy walk where you're not really driving your heart rate up a ton and you're listening to some music or a good book or something like that, and do that and just see how much better you feel and chase being better. That's a whole other podcast in itself. And last but not least, lack of or having accountability makes it a whole lot harder or easier. If you have all these awesome plans and you are that type of person that writes all these things down, you have everything down, you're like, I'm going to do this, and at the end of the day, it just doesn't get done, then it's an accountability problem. And a lot of people do have that issue because you're listening to this podcast right now. You're probably taking in a ton of other awesome information, but how much of it is actually being put to use? That's a really good question to ask yourself, because if you do need that accountability, then no amount of planning, no next thing that you learn is going to help that. You need somebody to hold you to it to make sure that you do it. Because at the end of the day, knowing is half the battle. Consistent execution is that other half. And if you need somebody to help you consistently execute, then make sure you do that. Attack the right problem. You'll be happy you did. All right. And if you need somebody in your corner to help you, that's literally what I do every single day, helping people over 40 to get more tone, to feel better, to be able to do the things that they can't do currently. So if you're interested in that and you want to see what it's all about, just go ahead in the show notes or the description, wherever you're watching or listening, and click where it says set up a discovery call, and you and me will hop on the phone for 10 minutes and just talk about what your goals are and what exactly you want out of this and what it's going to require, and make sure that it's the right fit and it's exactly what you need. Because I don't push it on people that don't actually need what I'm offering. So yeah, definitely go take advantage of that. At worst case scenario, you and me have an awesome conversation and I get to meet you because you're an awesome listener who actually takes action. So I'm down to just have a conversation and meet you guys. That being said, if you're not quite there yet and you're like, dude, slow your roll, I barely know you, don't worry. If you want some good stuff that'll help you get going and start taking some action, there's always the FIT40 starter kit. So you can go ahead and download that. It has follow along video workouts. We're over 16 at this point, and I'm constantly adding. So we'll have more of those. There's the PFC nutrition guide. So like I said, the protein, fiber, color, if you want some good ideas on that and a little bit more explanation, that's in there. There's 20 PFC recipes. So just like I mentioned, that like utilizing ChatGPT, those types of recipes are in there. And there's also the 7-day reset calendar, which is awesome. It's something I use myself. It's something I've helped others use, which is basically 7 days to get yourself back on track. So if you fall off the wagon, this 7-day reset really, really helps just get you back into place and get you back on the wagon and gives you that momentum going forward. All right. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope that this helps, and I hope that you take advantage of all the stuff down in the show notes that I mentioned, but I will see you next time. Until then, go kick some ass. Bye-bye.